Visit Stormux.org, where you can learn more about our project and join the mailing list. Welcome to the third episode of the Stormux podcast. So how is everybody?
Pretty good.
Awesome. Okay, so this time we actually, I was prepared, sort of. I had notes and everything.
And then you lost them.
No, don't say that.
Dog ate his homework.
Which one?
Well, they
or
all
the bird.
shared it.
The bird could have ate the...
Yeah. But again, we have to ask which one.
That's true. We're getting more pets than a zoo.
The one that flew into his computer case and chewed on the NVMe.
Crunchy.
Okay, so first thing today, I would like to say thank you to everyone who donated for the new project and to help this person out. He is going through a very hard time, bad situation with no employment for like 6 or 9 months or something, and family to support and all that sort of stuff. So for every one of you who reached out and helped this dude, thanks so much. That's why we're here. We help each other, we take care of each other, and the world is better off for it, you know? When we all look out for each other, we all win. And now, a presentation of a new project. So, we're not actually in competition. The Van Kento style presentation music.
Yeah.
We're not actually in competition with Orca. We want to say this right off the bat, because not everything new has to be competition for something else. But we have a fork based on the Orca 45 branch, because there were some things that worked better with window managers like i3 and the i38 project, Rat Poison, and probably a couple others that I can't think of right now. Firefox, of course, being one of the things that works better.
Thunderbird.
That too.
Yes.
Yeah. QJoyPad.
Yes. Definitely that.
So we branched off from Orca 45 and created a screen reader Cthulhu. For those of you who happen to be H.P. Lovecraft fans, I was reading a huge monstrous anthology of stuff by and influenced by H.P. Lovecraft, and Cthulhu's just awesome. I mean, if we're gonna make a precedent of naming screen readers after sea creatures, we might as well name it after the best one.
Hell yeah. Sorry, I had to say it because
there's a Metallica song named partially after it.
Yes.
Influenced by, but spelled differently from. Yeah.
Yes.
Cthulhu is currently what I would consider pre-alpha software. Sure, it's based on Orca and has a lot of the same bug fixes and all that sort of stuff, but there are changes. The quit Cthulhu button is bound to insert, or I guess Cthulhu plus Q. So insert or caps lock plus Q. It's bound by default because I don't foresee it being GNOME exclusive, where you're supposed to control everything through that control panel. It has 2 plugin systems. One plugin system based off libps, which is the main plugin system, and gives you excellent control over practically everything inside Cthulhu itself. Pretty much anything new functionality could be a plugin if you want to do it that way. And the simple plugin system, which is itself one of the libps plugins. It allows you to run scripts, like if you write a quick weather script and want to bind it to insert W or whatever, then you just drop it in the plugins directory inside your /local/Cthulhu/plugins or simple plugins or whatever that folder's called. I can't think of it right now. I don't know how intact the translations will be. We don't really have a huge team to work on translations. It just depends on how much this project takes off. And really how much this project grows and becomes anything useful depends on the community. Whereas I guess we welcome and encourage community contributions to the code. There's still a lot to be done. Some of the documentation needs to be cleaned up. Some things still need to be changed. But you can install and run this alongside Orca's master branch or main branch or whatever they're calling it these days. And it's like I said, it's not a competition. It's just something to run alongside so you can have the best of both worlds. You can have the latest Orca fixes, and you can have a working Firefox in your window manager.
And this, your huge joypad.
Yeah. And this, of course, keeps a lot of the bugs, that really aren't Orca's place to fix. It keeps them away from, bugging the developers. Nice choice of words there. We've had several contributions to get us where we are, so a shout out and thank you to everyone who's contributed code. It's been very helpful. I actually had COVID whenever I was doing this too, and I was writing code with a fever of like 103, and it didn't turn out so well.
Oh wow.
And speaking of screen readers, there have been some pretty major Fenrir bug fixes. We have a new tag. It's 1.9.9, so we're getting close to that 2.0 mark. Some of the fixes include when you were copying things with the Fenrir clipboard and you started copying in the middle of a line and then went one or more lines down and tried to copy something else, a lot of times nothing would be placed in the clipboard. That should be fixed now, and I've had no problems with it over the last week or so that I've been testing this stuff. There was another problem that happened sometimes, a lot more for other people than me. I haven't seen this one in a few years now, actually. But when you would switch from X to the console, sometimes it was like the control button would get stuck on your keyboard. And I think that I managed to knock that one out. Of course, I don't know because I was one of the people who didn't really experience the bug all that much.
I haven't had it happen in 4 or 5 days, so.
Awesome. Good job.
Although, now that you say that, it might start cropping up.
If it happens,
see that,
let me know. And I will try my best to fix it yet again. That's some very complex and intricate code there. So I've tried many fixes before, but none of them ever made it because they either made the problem worse or just broke it.
Yeah, and some of the code there is a bit strange, especially considering some of the things underneath what Fenrir's actually doing are strange.
Yeah, you have to work around like the whole setting the terminal so that you can actually use the clipboard, which we had to have added to Fenrir a while back because of changes in the kernel itself. And then working with evdev and key names and all that sort of stuff is just confusing, to say the least. Oh gosh, there was another Fenrir bug that got fixed too. Oh yeah, some people were reporting that it was no longer detecting xclip even though it was installed in the generic location /usr/bin/xclip. And so I took a look at the import and export to clipboard and made a few changes there, and it seems to be working so far. People who reported the problems said that it has gone away, so just something to watch out for, and hopefully over the next year or so we can get to that 2.0 release. The Finra repository is most likely going to be moving to git.stormux.org, but I will make a separate announcement on the email list if and when that happens. Also, the PKG builds in the AUR will be updated to reflect if that happens. Okay, let's see what else is in my notes. Oh, we actually have some people using Cthulhu currently. Do we have any feedback or, recommendations or anything from our Cthulhu user?
Caps Lock Q is nice.
Yeah.
Especially when you're trying to run a VM. Or
Yeah.
not run a VM, but like run something like Remote Viewer for Spice, and you're like trying to read your screen and you want it to shut up.
We're hoping to implement the sleep mode that made it into Orca. I think it was 46 or 47. It's definitely in the latest ones where you just press Alt Control Shift Q and it puts sleep on the window that you have currently focused. We're going to try to backport that. It came among a bunch of other interesting changes, so it's a lot harder than I would like, but we're going to try and get that done. Because that's one of the most useful features if you're running a VM. That way you're running Orca doesn't conflict with.
Yeah, I wish it would just expose a socket interface so that you can send a command to it. Not necessarily a full command, just like, hey, sleep on this window, so that you can programmatically say when you spawn, when i38 spawns a virtual machine window, put the screen reader on the host to sleep.
Cthulhu has that capability with SOCAT or SOCAT or whatever, however you pronounce it. That's how the self-voicing works. Cthulhu does have the self-voicing capability. So for those people who have been complaining for years that you can't make games for Linux that are self-voicing because Orca doesn't support it and they don't want to learn speech dispatcher stuff or dbus or whatever it is that you're supposed to use, Cthulhu actually does support. We have a screen reader in Linux that supports self-voicing. And it only took us, like 30 years to get here?
Well, sometimes you just don't want to rush into these things. And besides, Cthulhu has to sleep for a long time before he wakes up.
Yeah, literally every other screen reader on the planet has that capability. And now we do too. So, yay. Like, if I had one of those soundboards, I'd hit my big cheer button right about now.
Well, you do have one. It's just a question of the sound that would happen if you hit it.
This is true. This is true. Okay. So, I sent out a poll on the Stormux email list asking about gaming on the Raspberry Pi and got a lot of response.
Yes.
Yeah, basically. Either yes, I want it, or if I had a Pi, I would want it.
There you go.
So, I've had quite a bit of success using this FEX-EMU or FEX-EMU. The only problems that are outstanding is with 32-bit games under Wine, the sound is exceedingly choppy and the game is very freezy. But that's on a Pi 4, so I don't know. Well, a Pi 400. I don't know if that would change on the 5.
I don't know. I may or may not be getting a Pi 5 for Christmas.
That would be awesome. Of course, you'd probably use that for a server and then test on Pi 4, right?
I'm not sure. That depends if I get rid of the old one, because all the Pi 4 is doing right now really is being an IPFS node, which now that they fixed the bugs, and the memory leak is gone, isn't all that memory intensive.
Yeah, it's actually quite nice to see IPFS not taking up 16 gigs of memory. So yeah, the Pi 4 could happily do that.
I think Mortal Kombat is taking up more than 16 gigs of memory at this point, dude.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
IPFS, now that the fixes are in place, aren't in the top. Or if it is, it's in the bottom. It's in the bottom of the top and not at the top like it used to be.
Yeah, it's very nice. Very nice. So we have here with us someone who is taking a trip, a very awesome trip to do lots of good work. Angus, you want to tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, thanks, Billy. Thank you so much for having me here, as always. Yeah, I'm super excited about going to South Africa. Part of my initiative is to be able to help those who are in need out there on the continent. Some of the things that I'm currently working on is to be able to obviously help those who don't have the opportunity at independence, like having canes and assistive technology and just like literacy material like Braille to be able to empower their lives as blind and visually impaired people. Also, part of the initiative is when I do go to South Africa, one thing that I want to introduce as part of empowerment and learning is obviously assistive technology. One thing that I feel that is lacking a lot on the continent itself is access to technology. So not only for people who are visually impaired and blind, but also just technology in general for the whole entire population as a whole. So one thing that I intend on making a goal is, to talk about Linux, most specifically Stormux and some of its capabilities, and how they can make use of the Stormux operating system to be able to teach computer literacy, in addition to maybe even potentially some coding for those who wish to learn. So a couple of things that I would like to see, obviously, with the Raspberry Pi, being such a small form factor computer and electricity being a constraint, I feel like Stormux can really have an impact in a lot of developing nations in Africa. So predominantly, I'm going to try in South Africa first, and then hopefully my next trip, I will be very excited about taking a Raspberry Pi computer with me and actually presenting that to some of the learning centers over there.
Yeah, because this could be ran totally with a solar panel and a battery and the Pi. I mean, you could do servers, you could do desktop computers, especially for blind people who don't really need screens. You could just run speech on it, and the whole thing would be solar powered. So it could definitely solve some problems.
Yeah, absolutely, Billy. The thing is, it's like, and I'm not gonna talk about other type of technologies like a tablet or an iPad, but those things are very expensive to come by. They're not cheap at all. And also, part of what I've also been hearing is, unfortunately, because it's a developing country, and sometimes technology ends up missing. You know what I mean? It may not last. Somebody may come in and take it and make it their own, aka steal, theft. So with the Raspberry Pi computer, it's going to be a complex system. It's going to be headless, no screen, just a keyboard and maybe speakers, and people are probably going to look at it like, what in the world do I do with this? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, and being able to be run off of a solar panel and maybe a battery or two, right? That's amazing. I think about a server. I mean, how much electricity does a server actually use? Right, and it uses a lot of power. It's got to have fans and all of the moving electronics in it needs to be powered. The Raspberry Pi computer, it would only use like maybe not even 1/10 of that power. They have to run, like, say for instance, a file server in a school where they can collaborate on, writing assignments in class, right? So they presented with a computer or something like that. They can actually do their homework with this thing. They can be able to store files and learning materials, books, right? Ebooks that they can listen to from school. They can download these things onto their computers or their tablets. This can be a server that's placed somewhere in the school on an internet connection somewhere remote, where they'll be able to use this little Raspberry Pi computer with this amazing operating system that a blind person can just go in and operate and be able to manipulate and do amazing and cool stuff, with. So super exciting about, super excited about talking and presenting some of this technology and then showing it to them and getting people to really believe in it. Having people to sponsor some Raspberry Pi computers, obviously being able to sponsor the development of Stormux as well. That'll be a great development because, a lot of software can be built into Stormux. So, with development, a lot of time gets into, being able to create all of these programs. Even though it's open source, it's a fraction of the cost of, what a school would pay if they have to, get some sort of mainstream type of computer or, a subscription-based application that they have to pay so much money for because, money is of essence. Every dollar counts. The exchange rate is really bad. So, if we can get this more affordable technology into the hands of these people, it only makes sense, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
It only makes sense.
It sounds like it would be a fun project.
Yeah, definitely. So you have 2 suitcases full of canes, right?
Oh yeah.
About 70 pounds worth or something?
Oh God.
70 pounds?
No, actually, it's a whole lot more. It's about 100 pounds, yes. 50 pounds each, yes. Absolutely.
Wow.
50 pounds in one, 50 pounds in the other one. We're talking about 100 canes, plus minus. We're talking about magnifying glasses, talking solar book players.
Cool.
This is going to have like different languages built into the little solar book player. I'm not too sure as to what the operating system that they're using on these books to be able to make all of these languages and the buttons to work and for it to be able to read the documents in like 52 different types of languages and how to use a cane. But I imagine that it is some form of Linux on there. I haven't yet gotten to speak to the person that actually develops these book players. It's actually built in South Africa, believe it or not.
Wow.
Yeah, these little solar book players. It's by a guy who owns a company called Mega Voice. But yeah, I get to meet him hopefully, and I plan on taking him out to a dinner and then seeing like, hey, how did you come up with this the solar book player and what inspired it? So this thing, you don't have to plug it into an outlet or anything. It just charges right off the sun, and you can listen to instructions on how to use the white cane. And hopefully one of the 52 languages on the book is one of the languages that you speak. But yeah, there's a lot of different dialects on there that you can listen to that educational material on. It's pretty gosh darn cool. Got some Braille literacy material. And then I also have some chocolate molds that were donated for the children. So you can melt some chocolate and put it in here, and it molds the chocolate into Braille, and then you can actually read the Braille and then eat it. Yummy.
Yeah, that's what you call food for thought.
Yum. It gets all
I
that
love
extra
it. I love
flavor
it.
from your fingers.
Yeah.
Let's just hope they wash their hands. Yes.
Braille McNuggets.
Oh, oh my
Make
goodness.
Louise.
Yeah.
Okay, and then of course the last thing that we have for this episode is I had been mentioning doing an interview with DDA, the project leader of Slint, and of course things happened and we didn't get it in last time, but so I asked him if he wanted to come on and do the interview in person or if he would feel more comfortable doing it through email, and he chose email. So I will do my best to read the answers and the responses, so bear with me a little bit. So the first question, and we kept it very short too, we don't want to aggravate the people who are willing to come onto the show and do stuff for us too much, so it's a bit of a short one. So the first question was, tell us a bit about yourself. And his answer was, I am 75 years old, retired, and not a developer. As an organizer at the car manufacturer Renault, I managed large IT projects in the 70s and the 80s before becoming management consultant and trainer, especially in project management as an employee. And then on my own, I had been interested in the integration of hybrid systems involving human, material, organization, and IT aspects. Okay, and then our next question. Why did you decide to create your own Linux distribution? When I became self-employed, I chose Mandrake Linux instead of Windows, and then switched to Slackware. As a French speaker, I made the Slackware installer multilingual by translating it first into French, and then, thanks to volunteers, into other languages. When Slackware maintainer Patrick, Tony, how do I pronounce this? Volkerding refused to accept the polyglot installer, Slint was born. Initially, the Slackware internationalization project as a Slackware distribution. Oh, I think I lost my place in the middle of a sentence there. But yeah, so Slint was born, Slackware internationalization. I got that right. Did I not?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Tony is our Slackware Slint expert.
Well, I would say I'm an expert, but got some familiarity with it.
And then our final question is, why did you decide to focus so heavily on accessibility? And the answer is, a few years ago, I replied to a mailing list message asking if Slackware was accessible with a braille display. Not yet, but I'll try and do it. I adapted the Slint installer and the installed system accordingly. Then I added the eSpeakUp screen reader, then the Orca screen reader with the help of someone who had built a Slackware package for it. Since then, Slint's main focus has been on accessibility. And I would like to say thank you to DDA for the interview and answering the questions, and that was pretty cool. We have a bit of the history of how things got to where they are today.
And a different perspective.
Yeah.
Because a lot of us run Arch.
Yeah.
Not all of us, but a lot of us.
And, Slint really does take accessibility very seriously. If there's a newcomer to Linux and they don't want to jump in with both feet and read 10,000 hours of Arch documentation to get their system accessible, I'm like, use Slint. It's right out of the box. You just set it up, run the installer, and bam, you have an accessible installation.
And Slint has some good documentation as well.
It does.
Yes, it does. And of course, it's a lot of the stuff that work, in the for Slackware itself is also pretty good for Slint. There are some differences, but for the most part, it actually, whatever works in Slackware proper will, for the most part, work in Slint. Probably the package management would probably be the one area in which they differ. But as far as a lot of the...
Not so much, because as I understand it, Slint is basically Slackware base, Salix, and whatever the packages DDA has made all glued together to form what you would consider Slint. And I guess Slapped SBO is your AUR.
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah.
Oh, and there will be in the next little bit, as in the next few days, I'm pretty sure, a Slint package for Cthulhu.
Oh, of course. Cthulhu, he has to be everywhere.
Of course, yeah.
In all of our minds as we dream.
I tried my hand at creating the Slack build for it, and I got pretty close apparently. So there's not much to fix, and DDA is going to chip in and help get that up and running. So yeah, it'll be available on Arch and on Slint. And really any other distro too, but you'll have to just build it manually until we can get packages for them. Arch was of course easy because I'm more familiar with it. But yeah, it depends. If you want to submit a package for your distro, just send it to me and I will include it into the Git repository, or you can do a pull request, whatever you want to do. I'm really hoping that Cthulhu becomes a community project because, with everything else that I'm managing currently, I don't really have oodles of time to devote to it. But I think we are off to a good start.
Besides, tentacles.
Yeah.
Everything's better with tentacles.
Yeah, maybe we'll rename the plugins to Tentacles.
I think that would be awesome.
That would be awesome. It really would.
And then the repository of Tentacles would be bases or whatever they call the thing the tentacles come out of.
Oh yeah,
the base of them.
Yeah, the little pod things.
Pseudopods. That would be more of a Shoggoth thing.
Yeah.
Well, now we're really going into the deep ends. The deep ones.
I mean, we've been up.
And we know where they are now. They were here, but they're gone.
They're gone.
We've been up. Some of us have been up for almost 24 hours.
Yeah.
Some of us have been up for way more than 24 hours.
Yep.
And some of us, namely me, have gotten 5 hours of sleep.
Lucky you.
I've been up for closer to 36.
Yeah, so...
Right on.
Thanks everybody for pulling an all night and all dayer so we could all meet up and record this thing. And we're basically
Thank you so much for having me as well. Thank you guys.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
You be careful on that trip, Mr. Angus, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
I want you to come home safe, all right?
Oh, I'll be checking in. Don't worry about that.
I'll be, there's one thing I do that's old-fashioned, so I'll be doing it for you.
Oh, yeah. Thank you.
Until our next episode, y'all have a great month.
Take care.
We'll see you next time.